Happy Wednesday. It is currently 3:34 on this Wednesday. It was 1 something when I first started recording this, but it's all right. It's all right. Yes. So, oh, I really feel like the devil is trying me today with recording this video because so much has happened. Like the first time I recorded it, I got to the end, I stood up, I went to go get the camera, and the camera was turned off, and I was like, I'm sorry, what? Because the battery was not dead, and it very much was going when I started, obviously, because I looked at it before I sat down. So then I had to go back, watch it, and look at where it had cut off, and I was like, okay, well, that was kind of like an awkward point, but I'll just record like from there forward. And so then, anyway, it was like blurry the entire time, and then when I go get my camera, I almost drop it. I go downstairs with my laundry over, almost drop it again, and then I get upstairs and I transport the video and I go to start like looking at it and just make sure that it's okay. I wasn't gonna edit it yet because I have homework to do and whatnot. And it's like the whole thing was blurry almost. Like it would go in and out, but I don't know what it was focusing on because it wasn't me. So I was like, I don't know what's happening, but Lord, please just let this go okay. So but that works out because that video, I feel like, I don't know, I watched over it a couple times, like different segments, and I was like, well, there was a lot of good stuff in it, so I was just gonna kind of like go with it and let it go, but then I was like, no, I want this to be decent, I want it to be high quality content. So here we are again, and at first I was just kind of gonna let it go and not really focus on it, but then I was like, no, because that's literally exactly what the devil would want, like for me to just get upset and move on and not do it. And so it's like, we're doing it, and then I'll just do my homework after. It's fine. But anyway, so welcome back. I hope everybody is having a good day so far. Whatever day or whatever time you're watching this, I hope you're having a good time. Thank you for taking this time to watch little me. Obviously, if you didn't watch the first episode, if you haven't seen my first YouTube post or YouTube video, welcome. If you have seen it, welcome back. Obviously, the first one I was kind of just going over like the general aspect of why I'm back and things like that. But now in this video, I wanted to quickly just go over kind of like key points of who I am, just because, as I mentioned before, and I feel like it's pretty relative and relatable that if I was watching someone's YouTube channel going over like in-depth topics or just in general, I would not watch it if I did not know who this person was, or at least kind of like what they stood for or things like that. So I at least want to kind of go over that and bring that background for you guys. Most of you obviously know me because that's why you're watching this. Some of you don't. So for those of you who don't, let's dive right in and go over who is this woman? Now that we got that out of the way, for starters, I literally took a picture of what I jotted down, what I wanted to talk about on my phone because I didn't want to bring my whole notebook, but anybody and everybody who knows me, knows that I go on rabbit trails and get so off track and my attention span is like that. So I have a picture of like the key topics I need to talk about. Numero uno is my name, just because I know that seems so silly, but so many people do not know my actual name, like until they see me on Instagram or on Facebook, and things of that nature, and they're like, I had no idea your name was not Eve, or your name wasn't Evangelise. And I was like, oh, how long? Did you know me? But anyway, Anyway, for those who do not know, my name is Evangelise. It is literally just how it sounds, Evangelise. So Evangalees. That came from the biblical, or I guess religious term of evangelism or evangelist, primarily evangelist, which is really funny because when like pastors or people go to talk about evangelism or they introduce somebody as like evangelist so and so, I always turn and respond because I always think they're saying my name and I'm like, oh, never mind, sorry.
Not me.
So anyway, yes. So for those who do not know, evangelist or like evangelism, I guess, but evangelist is really just somebody who goes around, shares the good news, shares the gospel, lets others, everybody know about the good Lord Jesus, um, shares their testimony, and really is just like the go-getter of bringing others to Christ and expanding the kingdom of God. And so I am all about that. Like, literally, since I was a kid, my biggest thing that one of my biggest things, I always say two things, like when I wake up, and there's really two things that like I live by day. With one, be the reason that somebody else smiles today, and then two, just I aspire to help everybody be the best version of themselves, whether that be spiritually, physically, emotionally, mentally, however they can. And so, honestly, for me, I think that has to involve Jesus because Jesus is literally life. But obviously, some people do not have a relationship with Jesus. That is them. I'm not going to stuff it down anybody's throat and force anything, but um, and I just feel like helping people is literally in my blood and what I thrive off of. And so it is one of the biggest things I wish to do in life. And so one of the ways I think I can best do that is evangelizing and whatnot. Um, excuse me, evangelizing and whatnot. And I'm really excited just because I think it's really cool when like someone has a name that means something, but like what they become has to do with their name and they live up to it or they live it out. I think that is so cool. So I'm excited for that to be me. But yes, evangelist was based off the term evangelist, and that is exactly what I want to do as I get older. And I mean, you can do it really at any stage in your life, and I'm literally doing it right now with this YouTube channel. So we're on the right path. Number two, my moving history. So many people think that I was born in Arizona. I was not. I was born in Ohio. When I was 4, my family and I, my immediate family and I, moved to Las Vegas, Nevada. When I was 7, we moved to Arizona. And so I was in Arizona for the biggest chunk of my life. I was there until I was 21. And so I feel like when people hear that, they kind of automatically just assume and suggest that I was born in Arizona because since I was there the longest amount of time, it's what I talk about most of the time. And so a lot of people just think that I was born there and then moved to Ohio, but I was not. So I moved here when I was 21. My mom flew down to Ohio, and we drove all the way back. I drove the entire time just because I wanted her to enjoy it. She is a huge like sightseeing person, and she had made that trip various times like before, but she was driving at some point within those trips, and so I at least wanted her to be able to have one time in which she could just enjoy it and relax. And so I drove the whole time. The experience that with my mom was great. My mom is literally like my best friend, so there was that. Um, Next, number 3, my schooling. So a few people do know, some do not know. I am now back in school to get my master's. Originally, my first time around, I got my bachelor's in psychology. I double minored in pre-law and criminal justice. I was supposed to graduate in 2.5 years, but because I double minored, I graduated in 3. But that was still early, so I couldn't really complain. And I mean, I chose to double minor. I didn't really have to, so it was my decision. But excuse me, I had gone to Grand Canyon University, which was in Phoenix, Arizona. You didn't necessarily have to be a Christian to go, but it was a Christian university, so that was really cool. So there were a few who weren't, a few on the wild side, but I mean, that's going to be everywhere, so it's like you can't eliminate everything. So it was pretty nice. But that's actually where I'm going now. I'm still in Ohio, obviously, but when I was thinking about going back to school, I figured I might as well just go where I had gone before. I already knew like their expectations and their standards. I knew that I would get a scholarship for being an alumni, and so I am doing my master's for youth and family ministry online through GCU, which is really awesome just because I can kind of go at my own pace to where like I can read as much as I want and kind of like get ahead, which I think is really awesome because anybody who knows me knows I'm a huge nerd. Like I literally was asking my mom to print me out extra homework during summer. That's how I spent my summers. But anyway, now that he's gotten me so off track and we've gone down a rabbit hole, let's crawl ourselves back out. But yes, so I don't even remember where I was at, but I am getting my master's right now. Normally, I'm a huge advocate for like, if God called you to it and God says that you have the gift for this and this is what you're doing, you don't need a man-made certificate. You don't need a man in a suit to say this, that. But for what I want to do in the future, I really want to know like the infrastructure and mechanics of ministry, because
briefly,
I want to open community centers called Peculiar People Community Center, just because I want to create places within the community to where we can occupy kids' time, get them off the streets, keep them busy, give them community and fellowship, allow them places where they can do their homework, they can learn how to get a job. If there were gyms in there, they can play like basketball, yada, yada, yada. But I also want there to be optional Bible study, Sunday school, and like worship sessions and things like that throughout the week that they can go to, along with like counseling and things like that. And so that is a form of ministry, and I obviously want it to be like Jesus based. As I said, I'm not going to stuff anything down someone's throat and be like, oh, well, if you're going to spend your time here, you absolutely have to go to church and all of our things throughout the week, because it's not going to be fruitful if I force it on somebody because they didn't seek it out themselves and actually want it. So, anyway, I just feel like being in that role and having multiple organizations, it would be beneficial to actually have like the backbone and the knowledge and wisdom of it, rather than just being like, well, I've worked with youth like my entire life. I got it. So I'm like, we're doing it. But I'm super excited and I have every desire to be in ministry, and I literally want nothing but to devote my time to ministry, and spending my time with Christ and helping others get closer to Christ and just better themselves. So I'm really excited. Anyway, number 4, we're going to talk about the house, which currently we are in our content room. I say our content room because in less than a month, this is going to be our house. Right now, it's just me living here because we're not married yet, obviously, but we're trying to get into that mindset of marriage, that we are no longer separate entities, but rather we are becoming one, and things are no longer his or mine, but they are ours. And so when I say like our house or we're not married yet, but we almost are. We're really trying to get that mindset, and go ahead and get that familiarity with it, I guess you would say. So yes, I'm in our content room. But anyway, So I'm going to try to condense this as much as possible because I don't want this to be like a 30-minute video. But originally, when I moved back to Ohio, I was living with my grandma and grandpa, which I wanted to. One of the main reasons I wanted to move back, as I said, was to spend more time with them and kind of help take care of them. So shortly after my mom and I had moved and we got a place somewhere, then I had found an apartment in St. Clairsville that was only like 6 minutes from my job at the time. So I moved out there, which was really nice. Which when I further get into like the whole testimony thing, that's going to be a huge thing. That apartment, excuse me, because that ended up being Alex's apartment. That's where he lives right now. So that was a segue for him to come down and live here because he was in Canton when we first started dating. So I had the apartment in St. Clairsville, and then my grandmother wasn't doing too well, and so I wanted to get back to Bridgeport to live closer to her, just because I was helping out, taking her to appointments, and kind of like helping out around the house. So I moved back to Bridgeport, and then my Bridgeport lease ended just on the 1st, actually. So 3 days ago, I had to be out of my Bridgeport house by September 1st. So we also were like, okay, well, we're getting married in October, and I have to be out of this place by the 1st of September. So if I move somewhere, like an apartment that's just for me, in 1 month, we're going to be moving again to live somewhere that we can finally live together. And so we just both thought it wasn't worth me getting something that was not going to fit us long term. And so we were just praying about it and trying to be super mindful of like not stretching ourselves thin, but also not having to move a bunch of times in order to later start a family or even just for us to live together. And so the thought dawned on me to reach out to the landlord over the apartment where I was and where Alex currently is. And we just kept praying about it. And we were like, God, like, if this is a sign, if this is from you, like, please just let him respond. And when he does respond, just soften his heart so that basically, like, if he does have a house or if he has something in the works, he's willing to let us see it and just give us first dibs. Like anything, give us a foot in the door, some kind of sign if this is what we're supposed to do. And so I texted him and I was like, hey, as you know, like Alex and I are getting married. We were wondering if you had anything that we could move into because like the leases are ending and we just want to go ahead and have a space for the both of us and our future family without having to move a ton of times because that's annoying. And so God is so amazing, and he responded, and he actually did. He had this house, and he hadn't even like listed it anywhere. And so he responded and gave us like a bunch of information about the house, and told us like a projected date that he would be done with everything, and told us that he would reach back out to us. So fast forward a little bit to where the house is done. And he went ahead and he reached out and he was like, hey, the house should be done around this time. He gave us dates and options to come down and look at it. So we chose one, we came and looked at it, and literally signed a lease when we looked at it. Just because it is so nice. It is completely remodeled. The theme is black and white, which we had talked about so much. Like, we both love black and white and think that that color scheme is, like, so nice. It's in St. Clairsville. It has a nice little, like, backyard. It's got a shed. It's got a carport. It's 3 stories. And so just literally everything that we had talked about, because we were talking as well prior to this whole thing of, like, what kind of house we would want in the future for our family. And there were so many things that we both had mentioned that this house had. And so when he was giving us the details and we came to see it, immediately we were like, this is what we want. And so I'm super excited for our union and for us to be able to actually live here together. in 45 freaking days. So, as I said in the last video, I'm engaged. We are getting married in a little over a month. Super exciting. My dryer's done. The little music sound was going off. All right, number 5. We're gonna kind of like clump this together because I feel like we're getting a little lazy. So yes, I feel like it's getting long. So number 5 is Alex. Super crazy how we met. I feel like I'm just gonna do a whole separate video, probably like with him, that shares like how we met and the whole background story and the moving process and everything like that. But Alex currently is now my fiance. Super excited. As I said, we're getting married next month. Yes, so we've been dating since 2023, so it has been over a year now. Crazy to think so. But we started dating May 29th of last year, so it's been about a year and a half that we've been dating. We got engaged April 24th of this year, so we've been engaged for, what is this, September? That's 9, 5, engaged for like 5 months. So it'll be a 6-month engagement, which I feel like people, I don't know, I feel like everybody is so judgmental, and there's always something. If we were engaged for 2 years, we'd hear something. If we were engaged for 2 months, we'd hear something. And so we were super prayerful about that as well, of when we should get married, what felt right, and things like that. And we settled on October of this year. And I really just, like, our relationship has just been so blessed and flown so smooth and so well that it's like it literally has to be from God. And there have been so many times just for different things within my life, people have been like, oh, how did this happen? Or ask me things. And I'm like, literally, the only thing I can say is God. Like, I can't tell you how I got blessed with this house. Or I think one of my one of my coworkers from my last job, she was like, it seems like you have it like so together. Like, you're going to school, you're planning your wedding, you're getting married, you just got this like this nice new house, and blah blah. I'm going on and on, and I was like, I literally don't have a secret. Like, I read my Bible every day, and I thank God for everything that comes to me. Like, that's my secret, if I have to have a secret. And so I just thank God for continuously like blessing my obedience and giving me the faith to be obedient, because I genuinely can say, like, I would not be here. We would not be here if not for that, and not for Alex's obedience as well. And so, again, I just thank the Lord for sending me a godly man and someone who has a relationship with him and takes that so seriously, and is such a good leader, because we have been so blessed lately. Not even just lately, like the entire time, just been so blessed, and I thank God for his mercy and his grace throughout all of it. But I feel like I'll wrap that up just because there's so much I could say, but I don't want to like do a 4-hour video when a lot of this is like topics and things that I know I'm going to touch on again later. So it's not like I'm never talking about these things again, and if you don't know about it now and you don't know it about me now, you're never going to know. So I don't want this to be too long, but I do, before you leave, want to point out that these pictures and this artwork are my sister's. The middle came from Hobby Lobby, so like, move on. But the pieces of artwork on the ends are from my sister. She is so stinking talented. She does so many things as far as like body scrubs, body oils. She does serums, jewelry. But my favorite out of all of those is that she does artwork, and she is an amazing artist. She can do oil paint, chalk, sketching, like with pencil and drawing. Just paint in general, just everything she does, I think, is so beautiful. And so I wanted to just put that out there because I think she's so creative, and I love you, Tia. Which I'll put a picture that like better shows it because the light is like directly hitting it, so I feel like it's kind of washed out. But same with like this one right here. I feel like it's because it's white, so I feel like it's just attracting everything. But another thing I do want to say is just again, thank you to everybody who has been supporting this YouTube journey. I know we're only on video 2, but I thank you guys so much for the support and the response to the first one. Blew my mind. I'm just planting the seed, watering the seed, and I'm praying and expecting on God for the increase. So I thank you guys. Please continue. If you could share it literally with one person, it would mean the world to me. It has been my biggest dream and desire, as I said in the beginning, just to touch people and encourage people, and that's what I'm trying to do with these videos. And I know that almost every YouTube like star or whatnot is like, oh, subscribe, like, and share because they want to be famous and they want their face and their name everywhere. But that is the last thing that I could care about, and I just want to help people and reach as many people as I can. And the only way to do that is if people watch it and we have access to doing so. So I can only do so much by myself, so I would really appreciate the support if possible. If you guys could send this to somebody and continue to support, I know God will do the rest, and He can do more than any of us could ever do ourselves or even together. So I just continue to pray that God make this worldwide to touch His people, just so that I can continue to be that uplifting, encouraging, and friendly person to people and just help encourage others. Really, that's literally all I want to do. So, again, thank you so much. Let us continue to be peculiar people, as my mother calls. Perfect timing. But anyway, let us continue to be peculiar people.